Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our community worship with the UU Congregation of Charlottesville. My name is Brett Gastinger, and I'm happy to be worship weaver this morning. We are connecting our home sanctuaries from all over into this shared Zoom sanctuary this morning. Our physical sanctuary was built on Rugby Road in 1950. For centuries before us, this land has been the dwelling place of the Monacan people. Later, this land was part of plantations that used enslaved African Americans for labor and profit. We honor all those who dwelt here before and all those whose lives have led to this moment of our gathering as a community of memory and hope. Our president, Pam McIntyre, offers her welcome right now.
Welcome to church. What I love most about being part of UUCVille is being in a community of people who are focused on loving kindness. I look forward to meetings because I enjoy how people listen to each other's varying views and respond with caring and support. Last week, we had 2 listening circles to talk about goals that we've had for next year's developmental ministry. It was heartening to hear so many wise ideas and to witness the respect and appreciation people had for each other's perspectives. So many people have such love for this congregation. We will be posting a summary of all the goals and ideas on the uucharlottesville.org website on the developmental ministry page. And we'll have our 3rd and last listening circle next Sunday, October 10th from 12 to 1 on Zoom. It's wonderful to be in a community of people who listen, question, and hold each other in appreciation. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Pam. Excellent. We are grateful today also for the tech wizardry of Sean Scally and Margaret Migas. And Reverend Leah and Greg Townsend are also joining me in sharing parts of our service this morning. And we are very honored to welcome to the virtual pulpit the Reverend Byron Tyler Coles, who is the preacher this morning. Reverend Coles uses the pronouns they and he. He's a native of Roanoke, Virginia, and the only child of Monica and Terry. Inspired by the good news of Unitarian Universalism, Tyler believes the best of our collective ministry strives towards conjuring the beloved kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. Tyler has served the greater UU faith as the young adult community leader of Spark, the interim minister of Mount Vernon Unitarian Church, and is currently a member of the UUA's Congregational Life staff, where they support congregations across the southern region. Our interim lead minister, Reverend Linda Olson-Peebles, has known Tyler for several years now and is quite an admirer. She is so grateful, and we are so grateful that we get to hear from this minister this morning. Welcome, Reverend Coles.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for the warm welcome and the blessing to be able to share and worship with you all. I've only been with you all now for maybe just under an hour, and this community is indeed full of love and care and warmth, and so I deeply appreciate it. And I also extend welcome and love and care from the rest of your Southern Region team. In this moment of transition, and as you explore deeply about developmental ministry, know we are rooting for you all. We care for you all, and we are with you all in this journey. Again, thank you so much for the invitation here, and let's join in worship.
Hi, my name is Xavier Mehta, and I have been a part of this church for the past 8 years. What I love most about being a part of this community is the friendships and supportive relationships that I have formed. We light this chalice this morning, the symbol of our UU faith. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, to celebration of the life we share together. We light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is the church of the open minds. This is the church of the helping hands. This is the church of the loving hearts. Our congregation's chalice has been lit, and we have its own screen throughout the service. If you have a chalice in your home, please light it now. Thank you.
Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part I seek. Let me be part of the love. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part I seek. Let me be part of the love. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part I seek. Let me be part of the love you give.
Good morning, everyone. Reverend Leah here. I welcome you to a very special time in our service this morning as we give thanks and bless some of our companions in life. Cats and dogs, birds and chickens, turtles, fish, lizards, guinea pigs, and so much more. This morning's ceremony acknowledges that our lives are made fuller and richer by the creatures that inhabit the earth with us, including those creatures that live with us. Animal blessings originate in the Catholic tradition. However, many Unitarian Universalist congregations, including ours, have adopted this practice and made a uniquely Unitarian Universalist blessing. Our seventh UU principle celebrates the interconnected web of existence of all life, of which we are a part, and we honor this sacred connection today and every day. A blessing is the naming of gratitude, happiness, and hope. It can be a time to offer wishes or prayers for health and well-being. This morning, we acknowledge how our lives have been blessed by the earth's animals and our animal companions, and we bless them with our love and prayers for their continued health and happiness. I will start by lighting a candle in remembrance of all the beloved animal friends and animal family members that are no longer with us, that are no longer living. May our memories of time with these animal friends be sweet as we recall what it felt like to be with them, to talk with them, to hold them, to care for them and feel unconditionally loved by them. These beloveds live on in our hearts and in our minds forever. You are invited now to type into the chat box the names of any beloved animals that have died that you carry with you in your heart. For the names and in memory of all these loved ones, we say, Amen and blessed be. Now, let us celebrate and bless the animals and stuffed animal lovies that are with us today. I invite you, if it is possible, to hold your animal or your stuffed animal up to the Zoom screen so that we all may see them. You may need to switch to gallery view so you can do that. And if you are able, go ahead and scroll through your screen and look at all the beloved creatures in our service today. And I offer this blessing now to all. Dear animal companions, animal family members, and animal beloveds, may you live a long, happy, and blessed life. May there be food in your belly, clean water to drink, a warm and cozy place to sleep, and joy in your days. May you always feel cared for and loved. And now a blessing for all by L. Annie Forster. My furry, feathered, and scaled friends, I greet you. You come from the same life force of creation that I do, and I greet you as a sibling. May your days be filled with love and whatever else you may desire. May your tummy always be full, and may you always have a place to rest. May you have many days of love with your human friends. May you play together and work together in gentleness and respect for one another. My furry, feathered, and scaled friends, I am happy to have met you. May your life and the lives of those who care for you be blessed. And now, let us enjoy a special song that has been turned into a video for us by our talented videographer, Ellie Ransom. The video includes images of people and their animal loved ones from within our congregation. I invite you to sing along at home, and blessings on us all.
All God's critters got a place in the choir. Some sing low, some sing higher, some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands, paws, or anything they got now. Well, listen to the bass, it's the one on the bottom with the bullfrog groans and the hippopotamus moans and groans with a big to-do. The old cow just goes moo. Dogs and the cats that take up the middle, hummingbird hums and the cricket fiddles, the donkey brays and the pony neigh, the old coyote, all God's critters got a place in the choir. Some sing low, some sing higher, some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands, paws, or anything they got now. Well, listen to the top with a little bird sing on the melody with a high note ringing. Hoot owl hollers over everything. The jaybird disagrees. Singing in the nighttime, singing in the day. The little duck quacks and is on his way. Possum ain't got much to say. Porcupine talks to himself. All God's critters got a place in the choir. Some sing low, some sing high, some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands, paws, or anything they got now. Well, it's a simple song, a living song everywhere, by the ox and the fox and the grizzly bear, the grumpy alligator and the hawk above, the sly raccoon and the turtle dove. All God's critters got a place in the choir. Some sing low, some sing higher, some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands, paws, or anything they got now.
Thank you. Reverend Coles has asked us to share this prayer from the Reverend Ali Casey Bell. We lift up our weary eyes. We lift up our eyes to the hills. From where will our help come? God of our understanding, hear our prayers. Where do we find our help in these sorrowful times? We are seeking something to hold us, someone to hold us, for we feel so weary.
Tired of the way that this virus is infecting our loved ones, sickening some and stealing others. Tired of the murderous rage of racism that is being used as a tool of execution against Black and brown bodies. We are so weary. Tired of worrying about how we will survive day after day in this pandemic. Tired of worrying if we are preparing our children for this world that they have inherited. We are so weary.
Tired of feeling isolated in our homes. Tired of not being able to greet each other with hugs and handshakes. We are so weary. From where will our help come? We lift up our weary eyes. Spirit of life, we beseech you.
Spirit of life, we beseech you.
Spirit of life, we beseech you.
Help us to dig deeper into our faith, not the faith of fairy tales and limited understanding, not the faith that these things will change somehow without our doing the work of change. Help us to dig deeper into our faith in humanity.
We know that we have all that we need to fundamentally change these things. Racism.
If we do the work of dismantling the system of white supremacy in our world, in our community, in our homes, and in ourselves.
The spread of this pandemic.
If we continue to hold the line against a government that places profit above lives.
Survival.
If we remind ourselves that if we have, we need to give. If we need, we can trust our community and ask for help. We know we are all a part of the interdependent web, each of us needing and each of us giving. That interdependence keeps us connected and it makes us stronger.
The education of our children.
If we remember that, just like each of us, children strive to do justice, to love fully, to seek truth. Remind us that to truly protect them, we must be forthright in our telling of these events.
Our isolation from community.
If we remember that we have each other, we can depend on the web to hold us. Remind us that our bodies have stored the sensation of touches that have brought us joy and comfort. Remind us to wrap ourselves in this touch when we are missing each other. For we are right here. We are right here. We are right here.
We are the keepers of each other. We are our shade and we are our healing light.
We are the keepers of each other. We are our aid and we are our salvation.
We are the keepers of each other. We are the weavers and we are the web. May we remember may we act.
May we remember, may we act.
May we remember, may we act.
Hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. The part of you that is not all right, yeah, is also the part that loves the light. And the part of you that is suffering is the part that calls in change. And you don't have to feel ashamed. There is nothing to forgive. The part of you that is crying out is the part that wants to live, yeah. Hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. When your world is burning down, well, getting hot is a sane reaction, but one in need of action, because your spirit needs protection. So gather up your sinew and gather up your faction. Hope is not a feeling, hope is an action. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes. We are not all right. I said, hope comes. We are not all right. I'm gonna fall down on my knees.
That's not living.
I'm gonna say, will you help me please?
That's not living.
I'm gonna say I'm not all right.
That's not living.
I'm just trying to make it through this night. Yeah.
That's not living.
I'm gonna fall down on my knees. Yeah. Oh, will we say, help me please? Help me please. We can say, hey, we are not all right. We are not all right. We can help each other get through the night. Because hope comes from the center of the hurt, in the middle of the dirt. We'll plant a seed and watch it grow into something we don't already know.
Yes, yes. Recently, I found myself unexpectedly strolling down memory lane, due in part to these seasonal changes that we're now experiencing and my desperate need for distraction. Because yes, even ministers like to procrastinate from time to time. As memories and sensations came and went, my mind landed on the water's edge, where I spent several summers with my dad camping at Smith Mountain Lake. There, at this campground, I would just roam about on my own, playing in the creeks as they meandered their way into the lake, picking up large chunks of quartz crystals and adding them to my growing collection, and spying on salamanders as they slithered about. The water's edge was a cherished place, a place of safety. It allowed me to be curious and happy and at ease. And there I would occasionally build sandcastles on the beach, which was in all reality just a small little cove that had been cleared of dust and debris and big rocks and whatnot. And of course they put some sand on it to make it feel more of like a beach. While my father was never much of one to buy me proper toys to build sandcastles with, I instead used what was available to me: damp sticks, flat and jagged rocks, elm and oak leaves, and my own bare hands. Now, while none of my creations looked like the proper and familiar sandcastles that most of us would be accustomed to, they worked for me. You could generously say that my earthen creations had character and some pizzazz about them. And my, how I was proud of my creations. Yet that pride did not always exist, because building sandcastles on the water's edge denotes the presence of one thing: water. Each morning I would come to the makeshift shoreline only to find my gleaming creation from the day before had practically washed away. And without a doubt, I would become frustrated, angry even, overall bewildered as to how my work could just cease to be. Each time I would build something new and strategize a different plan that included a bigger moat or a wall of taller sticks, all in the hopes that my sandcastles would and could withstand the rising tides and the ever-present waves. And each time I would return, only to be frustrated and angry and bewildered yet again. In retrospect, I am left wondering, how could I have ever held back the waters alone? And where could I have gone for support in rebuilding? In some ways, this is one of the ancient questions we as humans have asked ourselves and each other. And as the Reverend Bell posed in our reading this morning, where do we find help in these sorrowful times? We are seeking something to hold us, someone to hold us, for we feel so weary. Each of us, all of us, really, have sought the answers to these questions over the course of our lifetimes, especially over the course of this last year and a half. And each of us, I would imagine, have identified one or two places, maybe three if we're lucky, where we can find refuge and support during the most trying moments. Whether that be family or friends, work or music, gardening, or just zoning out, the list goes on. And I would dare to imagine, no matter if this is your longtime community or you're just checking this place out for the first time this morning, that the church might fall somewhere on that list. Yet, of all the places which we find solace, the church is somehow indeed different. And it is different in that it is a space where we can come as our full selves, our messy selves, our yet to be selves. Spiritual community is different in that it gives us a place to gather whilst being guided by the wisdom of our predecessors, all while striving to fulfill the hopes of those who are yet to come. In this space, made holy by our presence together. In this place, held together by our covenant, our promises with one another. In church, we strive to live into the instructions of prophets from days gone by, as to live in ways of justice, connection, and groundedness. And yes, while the location, the physical brick and mortar location, has something to do with this, our mission, and the comfort we find within it, the church is indeed more than the concrete, the wood, the stained glass, and the carpet. It is about the people who gather and organize, and the sublime cause for which we gather to explore, and how we are set free in doing so. Ruminating on the dual theme of spiritual community, theologian James Luther Adams once stated, "I call the church free, which in covenant with the divine community forming power brings the individual into a caring, trusting fellowship that protects and nourishes their integrity and spiritual freedom. It is the goal for the priesthood and the prophethood of all believers. He goes on to say, this is one about the freedom and the liberty of prophesying, and the other is the ministry about healing, end quote. In this, we see how the church, our beloved and still complex spiritual community, exists differently in a time such as this, and that it, through us, calls into being through words and deeds a life-giving way of being with and for one another. One that is not dependent upon perfection or tasks to be completed or hours to be clocked in on or times to entertain, but it is instead about the life-giving imagination and the following actions by which we are each given into freedom to mutually agreed upon actions of love and community. In this, we also receive a clear instruction, an instruction that I find myself often needing to be reminded of, in so much that we hold the steering wheel of our history collectively. We make the choices, beloveds. And in this moment, I find myself wondering, and maybe you do too, will we move into what is coming next feeling wholly downtrodden and broken, or will we go forth remembering power onto ourselves in order to direct our communities and caring deeply for one another? Caring deeply for one another, in which we find our help in each other, in the faces of those who share the screen with us. One in which we find embrace, though not in the physical sense right now, but in the knowing and in the remembering that we have been, are being, and will be cared for and witnessed to. Yet the prophetic and healing work that we are tasked with feels wildly daunting. I'll be the first one to admit that. It's wildly daunting. And we are in a moment of cosmic shifting. And as I have come to say, if we lived like 2,000 to 5,000 years ago, biblical stories would be penned about what we are experiencing right now. For nothing is normal. The tide continues to rise and the waters seem almost to never ease. And I must admit, this week felt like another one of those trying weeks of highs and lows, with the news of the federal government almost shutting down and a looming economic catastrophe, continued denial of the already blatant climate crisis, sexual predators being held accountable, and nationwide marches for reproductive justice, and so many folks just trying to make ends meet from month to month in the midst of it all. Things are so hard, beloveds. And I have found, naming for myself, and maybe for you too, that my anxiety and despair is just like eking out onto others. We have turned to infighting, nitpicking, and going astray with busy tasks instead of creating and ensuring relationships and upholding our covenants with one another. We have been guided by our broken hearts and open wounds, not towards care and tenderness, but towards isolation and despair. And though while understandable, it doesn't change the course. It only makes things worse over time. But as we look for guiding wisdom, I find the words of Adrienne Marie Brown's as a reminder, in that she says, we can survive this without destroying everyone around us. Though, however challenging our mission to prophetically imagine a new way of being and healing may be, it is only possible through the telling of the hard truths of our time. And is only through the telling of our individual and collective truths that we can fulfill our mission as a covenanted spiritual community. This invites us at least and requires us at most to speak of our experiences in all the moments of our lives, to be brave in the sharing about our tender hearts and our weary spirits and our joys and excitements, because our emotions exist in the intricately woven tapestry of our fleshiness. And to be honest in the midst of it all, to be honest about where we have been and most likely need to go in the days ahead. There is a part, I must confess, that feels hesitant in exploring these tender threads this morning, because I can hear that nagging whisper in the back of my head that says, go easy right now. We can't take it anymore. The truth is just too hard to bear. Entertain us, if you will. Yet in so many conversations with others, I'm detecting this deep desire, a desperate yearning to be reminded that we are indeed headed somewhere, or at least needing to be reminded that it is our hope as a covenanted community, guided by audacious values and a prophetic mission, that we are headed towards what my ancestors would have called the promised land. That land where milk and honey flow freely for all to receive. But such is only possible if we do the needed discernment work and the precious tending to our journeys right here, right now. In April of 2020, the Reverend Nadia Bowles-Weber shared in her remarks at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C., that this is the time where we have to clean out the church. Meaning, we are going to need to act while discerning what is and is not our work right now. We will need to discern what is and is not our mission and greatest calling. We are going to have to discern what is and is not truly embodying our values, and what we discern, God willing, should not be in fighting or hiding our light, or fear-based guessing, or choosing the same old, and the quick disregard in passing interactions, or over-functioning because it is what we are used to. But we instead have this moment, this delectable, freeing moment to make other choices, bold choices, faithful choices, imaginative and creative choices, healing and transformative choices to ground and connect with one another. This effort has been and will be hard because the sources of our pain are, and unfortunately, will continue to be present for some time ongoing. Yet we must remember in all of this that the trauma of our time seeks to pull us to the shadowy places that say isolation and distraction and chaos is all that is yet left. Yet the healing that we champion and bring about for one another occurs through bringing ourselves into ourselves, bringing our communities into themselves through acts of transformation rooted in truth-telling, accountability, reorienting and moving forward differently than we are now in any singular moment. Healing is ultimately about coming into and remembering our wholeness. And it will require us to try out new modalities and pivot to changing needs as to access the care of community, justice, and groundedness right now, though we would sometimes rather not do that. So in closing, I'd like to share another memory regarding those childhood sandcastles, one of those mornings when I had come to the water's edge and found my creation from the day before gone yet again. This time I was greeted by other children who were around my age. I hadn't seen them before, but they noticed how I was peering down at this mound of sand and rocks and sticks and leaves. And they asked me, Do you know what that is? I sheepishly shared that it was my sandcastle. Maybe noticing the look upon my face as I have never been able to hide my facial expressions, they asked if I would like to build another sandcastle with them. So I said, yeah, why not? At that moment, one of the children meandered away for a few moments, only to reappear with sandcastle-shaped buckets and a shovel. Beloveds, we are indeed each other's keepers. Tending to our lives with and for one another has always felt challenging because it is. But we can and must do it together. This is our invitation. This is our mission. This is our mandate as a spiritual community who have covenanted with one another to communicate with compassion, to nurture inclusivity, to support the shared ministry of our congregation, and when we have fallen short of such, to return to right relationship once more. When it is all too easy to turn inwards and to hide from our sorrow and not to let others see such, as the Reverend Sean Dennison recently said, gentle people, come towards your community. You come just how you are. We are all disappointed and sad and stressed about so many things right now. We need to help each other, end quote. Dear ones, let us rejoice in the audacious possibility of our love and care for one another. Let us be received in this, our holy connection with one another, and may we be transformed and fortified in the doing of it, all while truly coming to know that we are indeed of one creation, bound up and set free through endless grace and love. May it be so. Ashe, so be it, and amen.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We can feed our every need. Every need. We can feed our every need. Every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, our
Dear ones, we are indeed building a new way, feeding and loving and caring and honor one another. Yes. I invite you in this time to enter into a space of prayer and meditation for the words of our benediction. And if you have a chalice with you still, that is still kindled, please grab it and we can extinguish them together. Yes, breathe deeply and join with me. Blessed Spirit of life, and you who have called us and shaped us to be ferocious, beautiful, and powerful creatures, rooted in love and transformation, hold us this day as we build a new way with and for one another, human and animal and plant-like, all of the ancestors who have come before us and for all of those who to come. Hold us in this day, and may we always remember, we are never alone. Ashe, so be it, and amen.